Hi, I'm Brett Parker, multimedia specialist with the National Provisioner. And today we're focusing on Kerry as they've recently unveiled AlphaGel Ultra, a next generation multi enzyme solution designed to help poultry and swine producers improve feed efficiency, animal performance, and overall production economics amid continued ingredient vitality. Here to discuss this is Sara Llamas Moya, Global Scientific Affairs and Applications for Animal Performance Solutions for Kerry. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me here, Brett. I appreciate it.
So, can you explain what exactly AlphaGel Ultra is and how it's different from other enzyme products that's currently being used in poultry and swine feed?
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly give you a little more detail around our latest development. So that's AlphaGal Ultra, which has been designed to be our next generation multi-enzyme solution to help producers extract more nutritional value from each kilogram of feed. And what we're doing here is that we're going beyond the typical substrate hydrolysis and we're heading towards an enhanced nutrient retention by animals. What makes AlphaGal Ultra different is that it's built around a highly targeted approach. So, at its core, we have our unique alpha galactosidase enzyme, which has been developed using a from legume for legume concept. This is specifically going to help unlock the full energy potential of soybean meal, that being one of the most valuable ingredients that we find in monogastric formulations. But then we've taken a multidisciplinary approach. We have combined our enzyme expertise, our process science, our animal nutrition expertise to help develop an enzyme with higher catalytic efficiency and also strong in vivo performance under real feeding conditions. What is equally important is that our alpha galactosidase enzyme still is part of a precision design multi enzyme system. So we are combining this unique enzyme with complementary non-starch polysaccharide enzymes, which are going to help address multiple barriers to nutrient utilization across the entire diet for monogastrics. So compared to traditional enzyme solutions, AlphaGal Ultra goes beyond your typical matrix value. We're going to deliver a more complete, consistent improvement in feed efficiency, and also we're going to get a higher extraction of nutrients within commercial production systems.
I wanted to go a little deeper about a galactosidase superdosing. Can you explain exactly what it is and why it's so important for producers?
Yeah, and that is a very important question, Brett. So, what we're doing with AlphaGal Ultra, we're also introducing an emerging concept in feed formulation. We're looking at, how can we extract more from the feed by having this superdosing of alpha galactosidase. In simple terms, what it means is that we're applying the enzyme at levels that are beyond the traditional or the typical standard nutritional dosing. So we're not just going to look at breakdown of primary substrates like raffinose, stachyose, so those galacto-oligosaccharides that we find in soybean meal and that are known to be highly anti-nutritional for animals, but we're going to go further and drive additional improvements in nutrient utilization. What we have started to see through our research is that at these higher doses, there is a shift in terms of the mode of action for the enzyme. So it is not any longer just about releasing nutrients from the feed, but we're looking at improvements in overall gut efficiency. So we're helping reduce endogenous losses, such as those associated with mucin production, for example, or even the turnover of cells at the epithelium. So AlphaGal Ultra is not just contributing, as I mentioned, with a matrix value, it's going to help retain more nutrients that are already in the diet and help the animal to use those nutrients towards growth. From a production standpoint, obviously, this all translates into better feed efficiency. So we're getting an improved return on high value ingredients like soybean meal and ultimately a better, more consistent performance of animals.
Feed costs have been a major concern for farmers. How can this technology help producers reduce costs while still maintaining animal performance?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the forever question and consideration that we have to take in terms of the volatility and the fluctuation around ingredient prices. So, in the current environment, what we find is that the dynamics around pricing of raw materials is quite challenging. Fat prices are high, And then we find that protein sources like soybean meal are maybe more available and maybe more affordable. So this is creating an opportunity, but also a risk. Producers may want to be more reliant, or may want to rely more on soybean meal, but as a result, they might be introducing hidden inefficiencies that might be linked to the anti-nutritional factors that I mentioned earlier. So what we're seeing with AlphaGal Ultra is that it's going to help unlock more energy from these high soybean meal diets. And in fact, our research has shown strong improvements in energy utilization, even at levels higher than 35% soybean meal. But importantly, we've also seen consistent results and consistent benefits in diets where lower levels of soybean meal, maybe which diets that might be formulated with higher levels of synthetic amino acids. So what this means is that AlphaGal Ultra is an extremely versatile tool for producers. So when substrate is available, AlphaGal Ultra will help extract more value from the feed. When maybe substrates are limited, it still will help reduce nutrient losses. So ultimately, it will give producers more flexibility in formulation. It will help recover lost energy, reduce reliance on costly fat, and all these while maintaining performance and lowering the cost of production.
Now, what sustainability benefits can come from improving nutrient extraction in feed ingredients?
Very good. So again, sustainability is something that we are very passionate about in Kerry. And as discussed, if we just simply looked at the improvements in nutrient digestibility linked to the use of AlphaGal, and also those improvements in gut efficiency, you can naturally see that there will be a reduction in terms of nutrient losses, and this will have a direct impact on environmental pollution. We can talk specifically about nitrogen excretion, and this is especially relevant in intensive systems where nitrogen emissions are key environmental constraints. But in parallel, the consistent improvements that we've seen in terms of feed efficiency with the use of AlphaGal will reduce the total amount of feed that is required to produce a unit of animal protein. So we've taken a little bit of time looking at our research data, and based off a meta-analysis of 20 years of internal research studies, we've been able to quantify that AlphaGal delivers a 3-point improvement in the feed conversion ratio of broilers and a 4-point improvement in feed conversion ratio in pigs. What this means in practical terms is that we will need 80 grams less of feed for a typical broiler, and also more than 4 kgs of feed less to rear a pig in a typical wean to finish system. And all of these while maintaining the performance and the end weights of these animals. So these reduced reliance on feed inputs will have a direct impact in what we call scope 3 emissions. And they represent the largest share of the carbon footprint in animal production, and these being primarily driven by upstream feed ingredient production like soybean meal, cereals, and so on. So by lowering feed demand per kg of output, AlphaGal contributes to reduce land and water use, as well as optimizing carbon footprint of animal enterprises. Ultimately, what we're doing here is improving feed efficiency. The improvements in feed efficiency are one of the most important levers that we have to reduce the scope 3 emissions. So this is really, really important.
Now, looking ahead, what kinds of innovations do you expect to see next in enzyme technology for poultry and swine production?
Yeah, and again, this is really important. We're naturally very curious and innovative here in Kerry. So we are already challenging ourselves to look ahead. What we're seeing is in terms of enzyme innovation for pigs and poultry, probably the next phase is going to be driven by advances in bioengineering and biotechnology. We're now able to design enzymes that are much more targeted to specific substrates, that are much more efficient, and also that are much more efficient, that are also much more robust, so that they can withstand the conditions around feed processing, and also still maybe being more active in parts of the digestive tract where it's more relevant. But innovation is not just about what you can do in the lab. What is equally important is to make sure that you can prove that these solutions also deliver consistent results in real production systems. So that's why we feel that a strong in vivo validation is also becoming more critical. So going forward, What I see as new developments will be centered around highly targeted, resilient enzyme systems that are integrated into precision nutrition strategies. So we're not just improving digestibility, but we're looking at an overall overarching approach to optimize the whole feeding system. Ultimately, it's all about delivering measurable impact on farms. So we're looking at better efficiency, more consistency, and also reducing that environmental footprint that is so crucial for us all.
Fantastic. A lot of great information there. But that's all the time that we have for today. Sara Llamas Moya of Kerry, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
And thank you so much for the conversation. I really enjoyed it.
As did I. And thank you all for watching.